Well, good morning, Spy Kids. This is a new theme song we got going for this thing. Okay, so here's what's going on. The Spy Kids, they were in Trinidad, and Superhero Granddad, he was in Maryland. He was working on a secret adventure. But something nefarious was going on, because so many young people, they had stopped studying hard in school, and they weren't doing their homework, and they were becoming dull and unimaginative, and they were just sitting around and not using their brains. So businesses, they were having a hard time finding employees because they can't have people that are just sitting around and dull and not taking any initiative. And so it turns out what they had to do was they were hiring monkeys. And monkeys were taking the place of humans. And you could see this going on everywhere. At McDonald's, you could see the monkey. He was hanging by his tail, and then he was using both hands and both feet to flip burgers. And then when you went to the grocery store, the monkeys are running all around, and they're keeping it very neat and clean in there. And they were especially good in the produce section, because they could tell people what was the best bananas to buy out of the whole lots of them. And so then the really funny thing happened was that they would drive by the mattress store, and there's one of those just about in every shopping center, and they would see monkeys jumping up and down on the mattresses. And that was kind of funny, but what they were doing was they were just making sure that the mattresses were in good shape before the people bought them. But the worst thing, the sad part, was that now there were people in the zoos. And because that's all they were doing. They were just sitting around, and they were eating and drinking and sleeping, and sometimes they'd get in fights. So the Spy Kids said, this is unacceptable. So they called up Superhero Granddad, and they said, we've got to do something, because this is nefarious. It is certainly the work of the evil genius, Colonel Sanders. And he'd like to make people dull and unimaginative, because then he knew he would never get caught. So they had to make a plan. And the Spy Kids said to the evil genius that he must be controlling the TV stations and the internet. And he was getting kids to watch only dull and unoriginal content. And so they were not using their minds. And they were just sitting around all day like a dog or a cat. So they decided to visit the TV stations and the internet providers and find Colonel Sanders. And they had to rush because sometimes they had so many of them to go to see, but they couldn't find anyone that had ever seen anybody fitting the description of Colonel Sanders. So they said, well, what now? And the big Spy Kid, he had a great idea. He said, well, what if the evil genius is using a disguise? And everyone thought that was a great idea. And the spy girl, she said, well, we could use Band-Aid because he can make himself invisible, and then he can hang around the TV stations and sniff and smell the people when they come in. And if they find one that smells like chicken, they're pretty sure that it's going to be it'll be the evil genius. And so that's exactly what they did. And pretty soon, they discovered that someone that looked like Justin Bieber was visiting the TV stations. And it wasn't really Justin Bieber, but it was a disguise, and it was the evil genius. So they laid a trap for him. And so they pretended that they were Justin Bieber fans. And the next time he showed up at the TV station, they surrounded him. And Band-Aid was barking and barking, and they tied up the evil genius. And they threw him into jail. And what they did was they made him listen to Justin Bieber and Taylor Swift songs all day long. And he was going crazy, and he was losing his mind. But evil genius had a trick up his sleeve. And he pretended he was crazy. And then he called the guard over, and he called the guard real close and whispered to him, and he pretended like his voice was real soft and one. And he said that he was going to kill himself if he heard any more of this Justin Bieber song, and could he please just watch a video of Al Gore? And that's when the jailer knew that he was crazy, because nobody in their right mind would want to listen to a video by Al Gore. But when the guard was real close, Colonel Sanders stole his keys, took them right off his belt. And then the guard left to go get the video, and Colonel Sanders, he opened the jailhouse door, and he snuck out. and he ran around to the back of the prison, and that's where where the trucks and everything and the employees parking. And he got in. There's these trucks there that collect all the laundry from the prison and all the prisoners and the guards, and then they take the laundry to China to have it processed. And so he jumped in a laundry bag and hid, and he escaped. And it's so sad because it's just really getting really hard to catch this guy, and he keeps doing all these crazy things, but that's all we can do right now, and we'll have to continue this later.